Hey guys, today I'm going to show you how to replace the inverter in a laptop. My name is Chris Devanis with Inside Hardware, and I hope through this tutorial you'll be able to learn some tips and just feel more confident about doing this repairing yourself. Generally, I've heard people quoting prices from anywhere from $100 and up. The actual part that we will be replacing was only $40, and that's including shipping, brand new from factory. So let's get started. First of all, today's laptop is a Toshiba. I've already removed the bezel when I looked into it the first time for the client, and I found that the inverter was had some corrosion on it. Here's the original one, and there's some corrosion on it. But I've ordered a new one that arrived today, 2 days after I ordered it. And what's an inverter do? Basically, the LCD unit has a light bulb built into it, same neon as you would find in a dorm or office building, and that receives power from the computer. But before it does that, it gets inverted through the inverter, and basically it brings up all the power specs to the right amount based on the LCD. So if you were to upgrade your LCD, you'd most likely upgrade your inverter accordingly. But as you can see, it receives a cable from the motherboard underneath the computer, and this inverter mount is built into the LCD bezel all as one unit. I've worked on a lot of other laptops that, like Apple's computers, for example, the MacBook Pros and the MacBooks have the bezel built in right to the swiveling joint of the laptop. In this case, this old iBook has it built in underneath the LCD monitor as well. It's a pretty simple repair. Most likely it'll take me longer just to explain it to you guys and actually do it on my own. But all I've done is remove the bezel with a couple screws around here and there. It's a good suggestion to look up the manual, especially if you're new to this, of the specific laptop that you're working on. And this isn't the original manual the computer comes with, but you're looking up a service manual. And it'll give you guides on exactly what screws are, sometimes where the screws are. Sometimes they're hidden, but what I use the most for is finding the joint snap. This is the bezel right here, the snap points where it snaps on. Unfortunately, they're not just screws. But so let's get started. I've already removed all the screws and the wires. Important reminder is to unplug your battery and your power source. Make sure there's no power going to the unit while you're doing it. Not that I haven't had anything happen to me in the past when I've done some experimenting, but it's a good precaution to not damage your unit. And safety precaution, as you'll notice, most inverters are wrapped around in some kind of plastic encasing or something. Sometimes when it's running power, I found that if you make some connections, it'll make some toasty, frosty burning noises or sounds. So let me go ahead and install this. This is the first time I'm replacing this. I do not know if this model will be the right one. Also, a good reminder and tip is to verify that the joints are the same on the old and new part that you're replacing on both ends in this case. But in this case they are, although they are slightly different as far as the circuit board is actually laid out. The major units are all the same, but some of the transistors and resistors are different. But let's get rid of this old corroded one and get this new one in. And a lot of these are universal, so sometimes the screws don't necessarily line up the right way, the way you'd like it. In this case, I found it easier to plug it in prior to putting the screw that holds down the inverter onto the bezel. I get both aligned, and if you don't worry about getting them put in backwards, because usually they have notches on them to avoid such mistake. And we get this screwed in. Now, before I put everything back, I am going to try to power it up and see if the screen lights up. Then we have a winner. If not, I'll most likely end up having to replace this whole LCD monitor, which generally go from $70 to $100 or $130 depending on what kind of laptop you have. If you see other wires around, all LCDs have the neon bulb built into the bottom of the frame generally, and in the back there's a ribbon cable that feeds the video and colors to the LCD charger. And let's give it a try. and it looks like it's lighting up, and it is. You can see the screen, therefore it's working. Successful repair. If you were to go get this professionally, like I said, easily over a few $100s. But I mean, you could do this. I'm in a college dorm. I just have a dirty workbench, but I mean, if you stay organized, you can do a lot of stuff. So I'm gonna go ahead and start replacing this lady's bezel and putting it back together. It is recommended that you do this with the computer off, and you'll have a little bit more room and freedom. But for the sake of the tutorial, try to get all those snaps in first. It's a pretty simple repair. I'm charging the lady probably around $20, $30, $40 depending. And most likely most of my clients are friends of friends, so I like to give them good deals. But it's not wrong to advertise something like this on Craigslist or through friends or whatever, Facebook. One pointer I do want to remind people is if you are replacing an LCD, you do want to be careful of some of the new laptops that have this sync plastic that starts from the edges and it's all one to the opposite end of the screen. Sometimes the screens are stuck on them and it's a pain to take apart. And so beware, like if you have a cracked screen and you're going to replace the LCD, inform the person that it'll either have a pretty crappy job around the sides as far as scratches go, but as well, you'll most likely want to buy a new bezel, and those aren't cheap because they're very custom to the laptop. Next, just go ahead and replace these screws. As you can notice, I'm just using a pill case because I knew I was going to be leaving the job untouched for a few days. Now, if you have a short-term memory loss like me, if you're doing a bigger project, in this case, not so much. One of my tricks is when I'm working on people's computers is get something like this, and I get a piece of paper and I'll write down the steps. Step 1, and I'll put the screws in from step 1, and then I'll write down on the piece of paper where I got the screws from, and so forth. And then in between these steps, I'll also write down what cables I unplugged or what pieces I've snapped in or not. But generally I'll use that if I'm taking apart the whole laptop, and especially it's nice to have these little closing cases. Another thing that works are ice cube trays, or I've heard people using little egg cartons. But in this case it's pretty straightforward. When taking apart the laptop screen, unless you've done this before and you know the layout, generally the screws are hidden behind little rubber pieces that are just stuck on. If they have trouble sticking back on your client's laptop or your own, just use a little bit of glue on the screw, it won't hurt it. But the lady did admit after I told her that it looked like there was corrosion from a liquid, it looked like coffee or something. She admitted to me that she was cleaning the screen when it damaged, and it must have like entered like right around there because that's where the bezel is. But get these sticky things back on, that way it'll look clean and close tight. And as you can see, the computer's working, so that's the end of our tutorial. And that's why I enjoy my job, when it's easy, simple, and all works out. Join me again for whatever next repair I do, and feel free to ask me any questions if you have comments, or I'll try to answer you as soon as possible, and sometimes within 10 minutes. Alright, you have a good one. God bless.